Customer service people, what's the dumbest thing a customer has ever gone out of their way to complain about? Story 1. I worked in a store selling DVDs, CDs, games, vinyl, and a bunch of other entertainment-related stuff. This story took place the day after the launch of the Nintendo Wii. Our store had guaranteed that if you had pre-ordered a Wii by a certain date, then you would get one. If you had not pre-ordered one, then it was first come, first serve for the remaining stock. No one was able to place an order or reserve one after the release day, as we could not guarantee when we would get stock back in. The day after the release, we had just opened and I was standing by the entrance of the door to greet customers when this big, angry-looking guy comes charging through the door straight up to me. Customer, do you have any Nintendo Wiis in stock? Me, hi, I'm sorry, we sold out of the stock we had yesterday. After hearing this, the customer stomped his foot and slammed his shopping bags against his side. I knew at that point drama was about to unfold. Customer, right, well I want to pre-order one. Me, I'm sorry, we can no longer take pre-orders as it's now after release day and we are unable to take orders as we cannot guarantee when we will receive stock back in since the product is in such high demand. Customer, that's a lie. Me, what? Customer, you are lying to me. I was in here 2 weeks ago and was told if I pre-ordered I was guaranteed one on the day of release. At this point, I'm thinking maybe I've misunderstood and he has in fact pre-ordered, so I make an attempt at clarifying. Me, oh, are you here to collect a pre-order? Do you have your order slip and receipt? Customer, no, I don't have a slip. You should have one for me because I inquired about wanting one weeks ago. Either give me one now or order one for me. My son wants one. Me, that's not how it works, unfortunately. We only pre-order with a deposit. If you have not paid a deposit, then we do not have a pre-order for you. I cannot order you one either as our system will not let us. Customer, this is ridiculous. Get me a manager right now as you are obviously incapable of sorting this mess out. I'm not leaving here without the Wii. As angry as this guy already was, he was about to get even angrier as I now had to inform him that I was in fact the manager on duty and the only one around. The guy flipped out, pointing his finger in my face, calling me a liar, telling me there is no way some little girl was a manager. Just as I was starting to worry this guy was about to physically assault me, something wonderful happened. I felt something brush over the top of my shoulder from behind and suddenly the customer's face dropped and he was being dragged towards the door. Unbeknownst to me, our security guard had just come on shift and was just entering the shop floor when he heard the customer screaming at me. He walked straight up from behind me, grabbed the guy by his neck and dragged him outside backwards, telling him, "You're done." Once outside, the guy stood between me and the security guard, almost foaming at the mouth with rage for a good minute before turning and storming out of sight. Story 2. I work in liquor. We have to do a lot of refusals, so being yelled at and dealing with aggressive customers is something I encounter almost daily. This was a new one for me, though. A mother comes in with her 2 young girls. Anyone who works in this industry knows that these situations are generally the worst to deal with. Parents can never get past, but I'm buying it, and do not comprehend secondary supply laws. Thus, when we see a teenager and a parent stroll in, we keep an eye on it. If we see the kid pick out the alcohol, we can't sell it to the parent. That's what happened here. My lovely coworker explains to the mother why she cannot serve them. Karen does not understand and asks to speak to the manager. I stroll over and get the lowdown from my employee. They've done everything right, but clearly Karen expects me to walk up and correct their incompetence. Alas, no, I back up my employee and explain the legal reason why we won't serve her tonight or the rest of the day. She looks ready for a fight. She shouts, "This is ridiculous!" and starts saying a million what-ifs. She says, "So, what if I left them in the car and came in myself? Then you wouldn't have known, right?" Yep, correct. There are indeed ways you could have gotten away with it if you were smart. Unfortunately for you, this is not the case. She explains it's for an 18th birthday party the girls are attending and it's a present for the birthday girl. Again, I do not care. She rants and raves some more before throwing her hands up and saying, "I can't believe this," and storms out. On her way out, she looks at our wall where we have liquor licensing laws displayed. She says, $19,000? The amount we'd be fined if we were caught selling to minors, and walks out. It was weird, but we laugh it off, saying we hope she's learned something. I tell my employees if she comes back in today, don't serve her and call me over. 4 hours later, I get called back to the front. She's standing there with a big smile on her face. She says she wanted to come back and apologize for her daughter's behavior. They're just young girls, so they get frustrated easily, but she explained the law to them and it was a good teachable moment. At length, she explains how she sat them down and said, "They're in a tough position. They'll get fined if they serve us." In case it wasn't clear, not once during the whole interaction had either of her daughters even spoken. They just stood there looking humiliated while their crazy mother went off. I kept saying, "We appreciate it, that means a lot," to get her out of the store, but she held us up for 5 minutes, patting herself on the back, painting this picture of her Hellraiser children, and herself as this beautiful example of understanding and good parenting. Everyone she was speaking to was a witness to what had happened. We all knew that's not how it went down. Truly bizarre. Story 3. A little while back, I was at work, and it was a particularly busy day, so I was rushing a bit. I walked past a very flustered-looking man standing next to another man in a wheelchair. Both of them were outside the toilets. Just for context, the main toilets have multiple cubicles, but there is also a disabled toilet which is separate. I walked past them in a hurry, and as I got probably a few feet past them, the flustered-looking man says, "Excuse me?" He sounded really irritated, so I flinched and wished I was anywhere else. But I still turned around with a big smile on my face and said, "Yes, can I help you, sir?" He responds, still sounding just as belligerent, "The door for the disabled toilet won't open." Now I'm already internally rolling my eyes because he's talking to me like I'm the one who has personally locked or broken the door, and also like he is definitely expecting me to be able to instantly fix it. I don't say anything, but I go to have a look at the door. He's still talking behind me saying, "I've been trying and it won't open." I look at the door, and now it becomes really difficult not to react. The little indicator on the door is red, indicating that the toilet is occupied. I turn back to him and say, "Sir, the toilet is occupied. See the little red thing?" He stares at it in silence for a moment, and then actually says this sentence to me. "Well, what am I supposed to do with that? How long are they going to be?" I was honestly just lost for words at this point. After a few seconds of silence, I just said, "I'm not really sure what to suggest, sir." He then has the audacity to roll his eyes at me and then be like, "Ugh, fine." Honestly, one of the weirdest discussions I've ever had in 5 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. Story 4. So this happened earlier today. I was on till serving duty, as were a couple of others. It was busy, so there were a few of us on the tills. As the number of people started to dwindle, the till in front of me closed down and was serving the last few customers who already had shopping on her belt. I had been serving for a good few minutes afterwards and started closing down too when I noticed the number of people at the till in front of me hadn't changed. There were 2 people left. A guy who had a few bits and an elderly woman who was in front of him. The elderly woman was trying to use a coupon that, for whatever reason, was simply not working but was adamant about using it. I couldn't hear the details, but let's be honest. The lyrics may change a bit, but the dance is always the same. At this point, I had nearly served everyone who was left on my belt, and I honestly felt bad for the guy who at this point must have been standing there waiting for 10 minutes or more. I managed to catch his eye, smiled and gestured for him to come over to my till. He smiled back, picked up his couple of items and put them on my belt. I only had one customer left before I could serve him. "Those are on offer," demands the woman I was serving, pointing at her bakery items. "Those are buy 2, get 1 free. I know they are." Me, "Sorry, but I'm pretty sure those are not the items on offer." Her, "Yes, they are. I saw the sign. I know those are the ones on offer." Me, "I'll get someone to check for you." A minute passes and I get informed that her baked goods are in fact not on offer. She doesn't say anything. Me, "So that'll be..." Her, "What about those? I know there's an offer for them." She's now pointing at some other food items. "Get someone to check them too. I know they're on offer." I'm only partway through asking someone to now check for another offer, when the guy who I had beckoned across mutters something under his breath and just promptly walks out of the store, leaving his shopping behind. As he left, I saw the elderly woman still at the till in front of me, now with a manager there too. Even though I knew I was going to have to put his shopping back, I honestly felt bad for the guy. Oh, and in case anyone was wondering, none of the items the lady at my till bought were on offer. Story 5. Diamond Specialist here. I had this woman come in to get her ring cleaned and polished that was not from my privately owned business. I told her if she wanted it cleaned, I would need to take it in the back to the high-pressure steam cleaner to get all the junk out of it. Lotions, conditioners, makeup, daily wear and tear, blah, blah, blah. Anne said she was perfectly fine with that, as I told her it could take up a few minutes. I come back out with a brand new looking engagement ring because it was actually clean. Automatically, she asked for a jeweler's loupe to inspect her diamond. I graciously hand her one and said, "No problem." This starts the thorough inspection of her diamond. She huffs and puffs multiple times, flips her hair, and turns the loupe around. There is no difference between sides on a jeweler's loupe. I ask her if she would like me to show her how to use the loupe. She snaps at me and says clearly she knows how to use one. She absolutely did not. Distance from the eye to the loupe is about 1 inch, and the distance from the loupe to the piece is another inch. "You switched my diamond," she proclaimed. I continued to say, "Excuse me?" She claimed I switched out her diamond, to which I'm baffled at this point. Demanding to speak to authority, I said, "You're speaking to one." She kept saying it looks wrong and this wasn't the diamond she purchased, so on and so forth. I tried reasoning with her until I had to get very blunt. "I'm assuming you don't know how this works. For me to switch out a diamond, and a marquise shape at that, I would have had to know your exact dimensions of the diamond before you came in here. Your diamond isn't from here, but I said I would clean it for free for you. Now you're accusing me of switching out your diamond within 2 to 3 minutes when it would have taken me at least 10 minutes to even try and find a stone that had your same exact dimensions. Because if it didn't, I would have had to change the head of your diamond to hold a different size stone, which requires a jeweler's torch, putting on a new one, and then cleaning your ring to perfection to dip into the rhodium. All of that alone would have taken me a solid 45 minutes. Rhodium is $20,000 per ounce right now, and if you think I'm going to contaminate a batch of rhodium on your ring to maybe get a profit of $1,000 on switching out your stone is absurd. Kindly take your ring back to where you bought it from to have them confirm with you that it is indeed still your diamond. And do not ask for me to service your ring ever again." She huffed and puffed and walked out. I got a call later from her husband apologizing, saying that he heard the story and it was her diamond. Educate yourself before you accuse a professional of theft, idiot. Story 6. I work in a secondhand store, not in the US, and we have a policy that we don't do returns or exchanges. We have notes all over the store saying that, and the receipt clearly states it too. Today, when I was working the register, a man in his late 40s came up to me with a vinyl record and wanted to return it because he already had another copy of it at home. It had cost him a little less than $3 when he bought it from us. I said, "Unfortunately, we don't do returns or exchanges," and he exploded. The look on his face was fascinating. He got completely red, eyes widened, his jaw dropped to the floor, and smoke would shoot out of his ears if it could. At first, he asked what we would do if the record was broken because all of a sudden the record had a scratch at the end, even though just a second ago that wasn't why he wanted to return it. I answered that we are unable to try the vinyls before we sell them and can only go by the quality of the record itself. That apparently just made it even worse, and he yelled, "You are making me so freaking angry! How about this then?" And he broke the record in half right in front of me. When it didn't completely break, he then did it again, over his leg this time. Then he threw it on the floor and stormed out yelling about how much we sucked. Why are grown people acting worse than a 4-year-old over $3 when it's their own mistake? Well, at least I never have to see him again. I got support from other customers while he threw the tantrum, so at least I had people there to roll my eyes with. Thanks for watching till the end, and don't forget to subscribe and like for more of these ridiculous stories. Love you all and stay safe out there in that crazy world. Much love. Peace.